I am an adrenaline junkie. I first had this possibility brought to my attention in my mid-20s by a therapist. This was the first therapist I'd ever seen. Actually, he was a psychology student at Western, but he did counseling also. Anyway, over the years, I've come to realize that he's right, he was right, and that it's a much more important factor of my personality than what I had realized before. Especially in the last year or so. I don't know when I became an adrenaline junkie. I think it's quite possible I was born that way. It's, you know, my DNA coded that into, I mean, it's a part of me. I mean, I've thought about the various things that could have made me an adrenaline junkie. There was all of the competitions in school, and especially academic team, you know, my junior and senior years. I mean, all of that is exciting, gives you an adrenaline rush. And, you know, not anything super special about that. I mean, lots of people play sports, competitive sports. That's an adrenaline rush, you know. All this, everybody likes, well, maybe not everybody, but I'd say most people like to have something in their lives that gives them a little bit of an adrenaline rush, because it's a pleasurable feeling, you know. But it has, the need for adrenaline has fueled, it has been the driving factor behind so many decisions that I made in my life. And, you know, maybe the majority of them were foolish at best. But it was like a drug addiction, you know. Junkies do stupid, foolish things to get that next fix. And I think I have had that level of addiction for at least a good portion of my life, you know. When I was younger, had more energy to do something with all of that adrenaline. But something else that I have come to realize about the adrenaline factor in my life is not just how it impacted my decision making for a good part of my life, but also that well, I guess it is kind of related to it. I am high-functioning bipolar. I am the kind that, you know, I'll always have a job. I will, you know, do what I have to do to take care of myself, remain independent. So I'm not one of the, you know, I'm not somebody who's going to just all of a sudden lose it and, you know, need to be, or can't function in life or society. I mean, I would say that I don't know that anybody at work, you know, people who've worked with me for years have any clue that I'm bipolar, because I function well for the most part when and where I need to. But anyway, I definitely am on the depressive side most of the time. especially the last, 10 years probably, maybe more. But I definitely do have the occasional manic phase. And I finally just came to realize this, just in the last year, that my manic phases are always triggered by a good dose of adrenaline. And I don't get them very often because I don't get, good doses of adrenaline very often. And as far as what gives me an adrenaline rush, there's two things in my life, at least for the last few years, that have been able to give me a good dose of adrenaline, and that is either, romantic, whatever, whether it's anticipation of seeing someone, or flirtation, actually, doing something interesting and fun with someone, but, so any kind of romantic thing, event could give me that adrenaline rush. And the other thing would be my music. When I actually get to perform, there's an adrenaline rush of being on stage, but also of just having any kind of audience. So, but that one, I guess, is never really intense enough to start to trigger a manic episode. So anyway, and the flip side of the adrenaline triggering a manic phase is that if I don't get an occasional dose of adrenaline, I get super, super depressed. It's like all the life and joy of living, whatever there is just completely drained from me. And that's what I'm going through right now. I'm in a spot where I haven't had any good regular doses of adrenaline in a long time, and I'm starving for it. And when you're starving, when your body is starving, it shuts down. And my mind and emotions, particularly the emotions, are starving right now. And so I have shut myself down to a point that I may have shut myself down to this once years ago, but anyway, and I realized something just the other day. This just hit me out of the blue, is that I've talked about how I think Mom was about the same age as I am right now when she finally gave up on men forever and has just lived alone since then, and that was, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10, somewhere in that range, I guess. And I realized that she had reached a certain point that I feel like I've reached, at least for the time being. I don't know yet if it's permanent, but we both just got to a point where we had had all of the rejection that we could bear, and the pain from that rejection. And so we just shut down. I guess it's like severing a diseased limb, you know. Just get rid of it and be done with it, and then you don't have to worry about it infecting the rest of your body. So, yeah, adrenaline. I have none, and and it's made me depressed to the point where I don't even really care. I think about it. I think about it in theory, and I'm like, yeah, it would be good if this were to happen or that were to happen. Something that would give me something interesting in my life, exciting, even. And I'm just like, I don't feel like trying to make that happen. It's just not worth the effort. And something else I thought about the other day is that I feel like I'm like a house plant, where, you know, a house plant is more dependent on whoever has the house to take care of it, because it's not out there outside where it can get water and sun. You know, it's dependent on the person in the house to water it. And plus, you know, it'd be in a pot, you'd have to repot it sometimes, and gotta put it in some place where it can get some sun, you know. And I feel like I'm a houseplant that has been completely neglected. You know, no one's watering me, no one's giving me plant food. I'm not getting good, healthy sun. I'm getting no attention whatsoever. And, you know, I've struggled and done the best that I could to pull what little moisture there was in the air, you know, to try to survive. And I have survived, but I'm not anything like what I should be. You know, I'm not as big as I should have grown. I'm not as pretty as I should be. And, you know, my flowers aren't blooming because they're not getting enough nutrients to produce the blooms. And that's what I feel like, is I'm just struggling to survive. And, you know, I'll never bloom. And as dumb as this sounds, you know, maybe my bloom was going to be something beautiful, and it's a shame that it won't ever happen. But yeah, that definitely sounds a little on the self-serving side there. Sorry about that.